Hello, I'm Tara Brabazon.
And I'm Judy O'Connell.
And yes, we're here for session 7 for Judy and Tara Talk Tech. And today is a very important one. Don't you laugh at me. Today is an important one because it's about thinking through the relationship between sound and vision. Now, as Jude knows, I use a lot of sound-only resources, podcasts and sonic artifacts in the work that I do. Yes, I use video, yes, I use digital storytelling, but there is a reason behind my use of sonic artifacts. And actually comes from the Open University in the 70s, man. Because what they did was they did not record lectures. They didn't record lectures. They did specifically recorded sonic materials for their students. And they argued that sonic materials make students work a lot harder. Visual literacy is an easy literacy. We see as part of our daily life, so we're very literate in it. It's a very easy literacy. But the moment you take particular senses away, like our eyes, and you have sound-only resources, you have to work a bit harder. So particularly for the Open University with abstract concepts, so philosophy, for example, they used sound-only resources. So I've never really recorded lectures myself. If we're going to do it, I construct particularly sonic materials for it. But Jude, we wanted to talk a little bit about visuality. We've chosen a visual artefact to express ourselves today through this visual artefact and the flip camera that we're using. I've got a sonic recorder here. We're not sure if we're going to use that, but what do you think about recording lectures and that type of visual use of materials?
Visual materials need to be there to enhance very specifically the content of what we're talking about. So they can be there as a content placeholder, and I'm not here talking about a PowerPoint slide. I'm talking about an image that is a provocateur about concepts that we're using, an image that creates in more depth the material that we might be discussing. So there is a very good place for visual materials in that, in terms of examining depth of content. And the other place, of course, is this.
Exactly.
Being able to see us as people who really want to talk with you so that you can bowl us up in some corridor somewhere and say, oh, Tara or Judy, I listened to that, I was really great, you know, pleased to meet you, whatever. One of the experiences I've had with, for example, my blog, which is called Hey Jude, is that as I travel the world, I've got this amazing situation where random people come up to me and say, hey Jude! Oh, I always wanted to say that. And then they begin the conversation.
Fantastic?
So we use our sonic and our visual presences and our forms of communication as being really strong connecting mechanisms and really strong ways of, as you said, examining content in depth.
So Jude, what can we do? And you know, why have we chosen to use a camera today? Because obviously my default is always to use sound. What can we do through height of the flip camera? What can we do visually that we wouldn't perhaps be able to do through sound?
Sound in this case is still great. I just think that in this particular recreation of a conversation that any of us might have around a coffee table, around a morning tea, the water cooler type conversation, yes, which is what it's about, it's really great to have a visual with
exactly. And so for our colleagues, for academics who may be watching this, if you would like that sort of more gentle conversation about and around ideas, perhaps visuality will work well. If you're after abstraction and more complex ideas in that way and reflection, maybe use sound. But I think this is a really positive and powerful experience to ask academics to consider their platform and consider their platform management with care, rather than just always go, let's use visual, let's record a lecture and hope for the best, because I'm not sure that that's the best way to engage with ideas at all.
No, I don't think it does that at all. You know, we always, personally know that I used to sit in the back of the lecture theatre and go to sleep. That was the way that I dealt with the boredom of sitting down and listening to somebody talk at me for an hour. Why would we replicate that in a visual format by recording a lecture? It doesn't make best use of the technology, and it actually doesn't allow the students to really commit to listening and learning.
Exactly, and I always said that teaching is about teaching the surprises, and the surprises that we gain from conversations like this, that we get the surprises from the interesting use of platforms, of software, of hardware that we never considered. Digital storytelling, I think, is a great example. Great use of visuality. Who knew that was going to be as big and as tremendous as it is? And all the great software that we have, I think, Mixcraft that I use for sound, but also, I mean, Magic's Photo Story, fantastic, intuitive software that exists that can really transform student and staff lives. So I suppose what I would ask as a former professor of media is that we all think about whether we need visuality, whether we need the image, so that when we use visuality, we use it with a bit more care and a bit more consciousness and purpose, rather than always assuming that it's going to be the default mechanism.
Yeah, agreed.
Good on you, Jude.
Good. Bye.